18.66 seconds per hour. You see, it is preposterous to think of correcting today's sun by yesterday's timetable.
Fool!
Idiot!
Back and forth they wrangle until my head is whirling around and I'm ready to believe that I am in the day after the last week before next. I remembered a parting caution of the Suva harbor master. In east longitude, take from the nautical almanac the elements for the preceding day. Then a new thought came to me. I corrected the equation of time for Sunday and for Saturday, making two separate operations of it, and lo, when the results were compared, there was a difference only of 4/10 of a second. I was a changed man. I had found my way out of the crypt. The Snark was scarcely big enough to hold me and my experience. 4/10 of a second would make a difference of only 1/10 of a mile, a cable length. All went merrily for 10 minutes, when I chanced upon the following rhyme for navigators: Greenwich time least, longitude east. Greenwich best, longitude west. Heavens! The Snark's time was not as good as Greenwich time. When it was 8:25 at Greenwich, on board the Snark it was only 8:09. Greenwich time best, longitude west. There I was, in west longitude beyond a doubt. Silly! Cries my literal mind. You are 8:09 a.m. and Greenwich is 8:25 p.m. Very well, answers my logical mind. To be correct, 8:25 p.m. is really 20 hours and 25 minutes, and that is certainly better than 8 hours and 9 minutes. No, there is no discussion. You are in west longitude. Then my literal mind triumphs. We sailed from Suva in the Fijis, didn't we? It demands, and a logical mind agrees. And Suva is in east longitude? Again, logical mind agrees. And we sailed west, which would take us deeper into east longitude, didn't we? Therefore, and you can't escape it, we are in east longitude. Greenwich time best, longitude west, chants my logical mind, and you must grant that 20 hours and 25 minutes is better than 8 hours and 9 minutes. All right, I break in upon the squabble. We'll work up the sight and then we'll see. And work it up I did, only to find that my longitude was 184 degrees west. I told you so, snorts my logical mind. I'm dumbfounded. So is my literal mind, for several minutes. Then it announces, but there is no 184 degrees west longitude, nor east longitude, nor any other longitude. The largest meridian is 180 degrees, as you ought to know very well. Having got this far, literal mind collapses from the brain strain, logical mind is dumb flabbergasted, and as for me, I get a bleak and wintry look in my eyes, and go around wondering whether I'm sailing toward the China coast or the Gulf of Darien. Then a thin, small voice, which I do not recognize, coming from nowhere in particular in my consciousness, says, "The total number of degrees is 360. Subtract the 184 degrees west longitude from 360 degrees, and you will get 176 degrees east longitude." That is sheer speculation, objects literal mind, and logical mind remonstrates. There is no rule for it. Darn the rules, I exclaim. Ain't I here? The thing is self-evident, I continue. 184 degrees west longitude means a lapping over in east longitude of 4 degrees. Besides, I have been in east longitude all the time. I sailed from Fiji, and Fiji is in east longitude. Now I shall chart my position and prove it by dead reckoning. But other troubles and doubts awaited me. Here is a sample of one. In south latitude, when the sun is in northern declination, Chronometer sights may be taken early in the morning. I took mine at 8 o'clock. Now, one of the necessary elements in working up such a sight is latitude. But one gets latitude at 12 o'clock noon by a meridian observation. It is clear that in order to work up my 8 o'clock chronometer sight I must have my 8 o'clock latitude. Of course, if the Snark were sailing due west at 6 knots per hour, for the intervening 4 hours her latitude would not change. But if she were sailing due north, her latitude would change to the tune of 24 miles. In which case a simple addition or subtraction would convert the 12 o'clock latitude into 8 o'clock latitude. But suppose the Snark were sailing southwest. Then the traverse tables must be consulted. This is the illustration. At 8 a.m. I took my chronometer sight. At the same moment the distance recorded on the log was noted. At 12 m. when the sight for latitude was taken, I again noted the log, which showed me that since 8 o'clock the Snark had run 24 miles. Her true course had been west, .75 south. I entered Table 1 in the distance column on the page for .75 point courses, and stopped at 24, the number of miles run. Opposite, in the next two columns, I found that the Snark had made 3.5 miles of southing, or latitude, and that she had made 23.7 miles of westing. To find my 8 o'clock latitude was easy. I had but to subtract 3.5 miles from my noon latitude. All the elements being present, I worked up my longitude. But this was my 8 o'clock longitude. Since then, and up till noon, I had made 23.7 miles of westing. What was my noon longitude? I followed the rule, turning to traverse table number 2. Entering the table, according to rule, and going through every detail, according to rule, I found the difference of longitude for the 4 hours to be 25 miles. I was aghast. I entered the table again, according to rule. I entered the table half a dozen times, according to rule, and every time found that my difference of longitude was 25 miles. I leave it to you, gentle reader. Suppose you had sailed 24 miles and that you had covered 3.5 miles of latitude, then how could you have covered 25 miles of longitude? Even if you had sailed due west 24 miles and not changed your latitude, how could you have changed your longitude 25 miles? In the name of human reason, how could you cover 1 mile more of longitude than the total number of miles you had sailed? It was a reputable traverse table, being none other than Bowditch's. The rule was simple, as Navigator's rules go. I had made no error. I spent an hour over it, and at the end still faced the glaring impossibility of having sailed 24 miles, in the course of which I changed my latitude 3.5 miles and my longitude 25 miles. The worst of it was that there was nobody to help me out. Neither Charmian nor Martin knew as much as I knew about navigation. And all the time the Snark was rushing madly along toward Tanna, in the New Hebrides. Something had to be done. How it came to me I know not. Call it an inspiration, if you will, but the thought arose in me. If southing is latitude, why isn't westing longitude? Why should I have to change westing into longitude? And then the whole beautiful situation dawned upon me. The meridians of longitude are 60 miles nautical apart at the equator. At the poles they run together. Thus, if I should travel up the 180° meridian of longitude until I reached the North Pole, and if the astronomer at Greenwich traveled up the 0 meridian of longitude to the North Pole, then at the North Pole we could shake hands with each other, though before we started for the North Pole we had been some thousands of miles apart. Again, if a degree of longitude was 60 miles wide at the equator,
and if the same degree, at the point of the